Okay. Council meeting COW-01-2025. We'll, need to move, need somebody to move the motion call to order. Councilor Betzel, and second, Councilor Fraser. We'll call to order at 7:12.
Mine says 7:13.
You said both. Addition. Vote, you have to vote on it. All in favor? 6, 7, 8. Okay, call order. Any agenda additions? None? Adoption of the agenda. Everybody in favor of that? Moved by Councilor Pascal. Seconded by Councilor Clee. Okay, adoption of the agenda, all in favor? 6. Absences. Councilor Tetzel. That's all. Okay, council resolution that council excuse Councilor Hassan and Deputy Mayor Tetzel from COW-01 2025. Need a mover.
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilor Clee. Seconded by Councilor and all in favor? 6. Councilor absence. You have no delegations today. Reports and discussion matters. The RCMP report. All zeros. You've had a pretty good month.
Which surprises me, actually.
Yeah.
On the page 3, current month, it says total cost 107, but it's not broken down in the current month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, where's that 107 came from?
And I was wondering if it was an error with all this. I know that they've got lots of calls.
I think,
But I also know that Adam was on holidays and it was Vanderlei that was acting. And I know that it was insane. So
That month of December.
Yeah.
okay. Okay, stop sign removal at Pentland Drive and 101st. I don't know how many people have stopped me and asked when we're gonna be removing those signs. Oh. So. So I've always been against it because it's a stop sign on a straight street, like that is our heavy trucking street, it's actually main drag. It'd be like putting a stop sign outside on Main Street. Like basically the same, and it does nothing to reduce the speed on Antoine. I don't see any less speed, and we were supposed to be getting a smiley face sign for that street eventually, but I've heard it's like $30,000.
I actually just got quotes back. It's about 4,500 for the small sign that just shows the speed with a solar power.
Oh, really?
Solar panel and a battery pack on the side. And we can permanently mount those anywhere in town, basically. I was thinking we can put a couple on the main road.
Yep.
And then either direction in the school zone. And then also I have quotes for a trailer unit that would be mobile. So same deal, small, it's not like one the GWT have, the smaller.
Oh, yeah.
Or all the highway construction companies, sorry. And it would just display your speed and you can have another sign above it that would post the speed.
Excellent. So sounds like we can get 4 or 5.
So that would be depending on, how much you guys want to spend.
Councillor Fraser.
So, the band wrote a letter, and you
Yeah.
guys all have it. So what the concern was is we had a grandmother approach us. We've had a few people actually approach us, to talk about the stop sign. Our issue, like LKFN issue, is we have a daycare there. And sometimes we have children who run from the daycare. And that has been an issue in the past. And I had a grandmother who actually witnessed an incident happening and her grandchildren being left she's witnessed some close calls at that intersection because people are speeding down Antoine Drive and that daycare is right there. I did give my input a little bit too because initially I was against the stop sign and probably rolled it a few times just because it was hard to get used to being there. But I think that if we take it down, you probably will get some community backlash and you'll have lots, like somebody petitioning. I think it's already been brought to our attention that would be a petition.
Councillor.
So, I was looking at a Google map actually too. And anyways, you have three-way stop there, right?
Yes.
So, I was wondering, was there used to be a hump in there or was it removed because of the snow clearing at one point?
They did put one in there, and that was more of a hindrance than the stop signs because that caused problems with people basically getting stuck on.
Yeah, they're not seeing it and they end up,
Yeah.
speeding. Yeah, I kind of agree with Amy on that one because it's a daycare, that corner. In fact, I'm surprised that they turn right instead of going straight because before it used to go straight all the way and then come back around to the main road to 100th Street. But now they're going turning right. So we're actually the corner of the daycare, the two corners of the daycare there are actually, where the truck route is. And because they go straight to Nahani Inn, where they have the truck parking in there, right? So I don't know. For me, it's a liability if we remove that. But because it's a daycare. That's what I was saying. Unless there's another route for the truckers to go around, but there's no other way. There's only two main roads.
I think with that, I've heard complaints as well. The truck drivers especially have to gear down. It's hard for them to come to a stop there by the time they see the stop sign to gear down and then to have to gear back up. That's been an issue. I myself usually end up sliding through that stop sign and I almost hit the stop sign when I'm sliding. So I come to more like a yield. Usually I try to come to a stop, but a lot of times it's too slippery, especially after a snowfall, that I yield and then proceed. And I know I can get a ticket for that, but at the same time, I'm trying to not slide into the ditch or anything at that stop sign. So
Yeah, nobody actually stops. They just keep on going. Actually,
I
honestly.
think they are. People are slowing down, and I don't know if we need maybe better signage maybe at the daycare that you're approaching kids in the area. Something like that. Like I know in places that I've lived in larger centers, they've had, those little turtle guys, little signs you could put on the sidewalks and things like that, like slow down kids in the area.
Yeah.
Things like that. I think that might help. But I do agree that people are just going through it as it is now. So it's kind of not.
The hazard both ways.
It is. It is, yeah.
Counselor. Oh,
Yeah, I was wondering that myself about that because I know the truck route and then lately some of those big trucks have been going down my road. So I think the same thing's happening to them where they're sliding and they're like, okay, well, let's just go down the next road. So,
Counselor Bellefontaine.
So I was surprised to see this on here because it's something that was discussed previously and previous council went through all of this already. I've never heard any complaints about it. I've never seen letters, but I have seen people, and I've got Facebook posts from back in 2020 when this issue came up. It was overwhelming, the people that wanted, because there were people speeding down the back road. It's been an issue. We have no sidewalks there. People are concerned about it. It is a trucking route. So trucks are going by. If they're not stopping or having problems slowing down, that's their problem. They're truck drivers. That's their job. And we have signs posted. They can stop. Also, I worry that if we put signs there for safety purposes, and then we decide we're just going to take them away, and somebody were to get hurt, then are we putting ourselves in a position of liability because we've identified, previous council has identified it's a safety issue, and then we're deciding, actually, we just don't want to do it because truck drivers don't want to stop. And I'd be interested to hear why, what is the reason that people having complained so much? Why do they not want to stop? It's like a 10-second pause and then you start going again. It's a small town. I'm not really sure where people are going in such a hurry
that they can't stop for the sake of children. I used to work as a rep for a large company driving all over the Maritimes, and there were so many communities that as you come to them, they have one of those speed signs as you enter the community. So it reminds you that in our community, we want people to be careful and drive slow. I've mentioned that before. Previous councils talked about it. I even looked up, I did get quotes before on getting those. I think if anything, we should be adding more safety features rather than take them away. And as a council, I'd like to see us focusing on making things better rather than looking back at other things that council voted through already. Like there was a majority of people that voted it through. I don't know why we're going back and revisiting. If there was nothing new that's brought this forward, I'm not sure why it even ended up here, because I don't remember being at a meeting where this was discussed to bring this forward. That's my thoughts for now.
Do you have to have a meeting to put stuff on the agenda?
We would add it when they call for agenda additions. We might add it, or we would have some sort of conversation. I think adding items like this, especially items that have, basically we've got an acting SEO right now and we're adding additional tasks to them. So normally we would decide as a council if it's something that we feel as a group we think is important. But if it's the idea of one person, normally it's not, we don't give each person, if each of us decided to add 2 or 3 things to the agenda and then we get it, it's like, whoa, this is a lot of stuff. Whereas we could just decide as a council, is this an issue that we all feel strongly about? Have we been getting a lot of people come in and complain? Has the village received any written concerns on this? I don't think we have. So that's my thoughts.
James?
Yeah, so, I mean, I tend to agree with Councillor Bellefontaine. I've never heard of anybody in this community complaining about that stop. There's a lot of high-speed traffic going down that road. And I also agree too that we should have possibly more signage, like a prepare to stop in the vicinity. There are little ones there all the time. It's an essential service for this community, and those little ones and their staff are constantly on that back road, especially in the spring summer months. And I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I know the sign's there. I stop every single time, and I think we need to figure out some way to curb the speeding on that back road, because it's constant. It's constant.
Councillor Bellefontaine?
I guess too, I would say when it's been brought up before, we've tried nice ways asking people to slow down. There's been Facebook posts, nobody really listens to it. A stop sign is something that's enforceable. Having suggested signs, they're nice, but people don't always listen. When they put in the speed bumps, that was a suggestion, you should slow down, right? People were driving around them. So the village went and got these huge concrete barriers that they put on the side of the road because people drove around the speed bumps. If you look coming up the street towards the daycare, they have a fence, so a kid could be behind it, and the people were driving right beside that fence on the side of the road around there. A child could have come around, anybody could have come around and been hit by a car because people weren't listening to it. Whereas a stop sign is something that is enforceable. Another thing is that it is part of our traffic bylaw. So in order to change this, we would be having to be changing our bylaw.
That was never put into the bylaw. There was never 3 readings on the stop signs, right? Just putting a stop sign up there does not put it into the bylaw.
We did have meetings. I'd have to look back to see if it was ever the reading was done.
There was never a first and a second. It was never a bylaw. It was just a vote.
When was this discovered that it was not read 3 times?
I was on council when it went through. So
why wouldn't you push to have the 3rd reading done? I'm just sure. I'm wondering. Anyway, regardless,
it was never put in.
Then perhaps we should do a 3rd reading.
Okay, let me put it this way. It was never legally a stop sign, right? It was never done the way it was supposed to be done. It was just, we had a vote, right? There was a vote and the stop signs went in the next day, right? It was not the 3 readings. There was no stop sign coming. There was no stop. It was just a stop sign put up the next day.
We'd have to look at that, but either way, from everything I've heard, people want them. I'm not sure what people are saying not to have them, and I'd like to know the reasoning. If any of these people could come forward, if all these people that are saying this would come forward with reasons, because I'd have to wait out myself, and personally, I think the people that want them have a stronger case. I can't even think of one good reason why we would.
Everybody has the same weight and vote, right? Like if we have 5 people that say we want it and 5 people that say we don't, right? It's even. It's not, these 5 people have more say than these 5.
Okay, so then that's why the people said that we wanted it before.
Hey,
So
it's like new business.
Well, why don't we see the pros and cons of it? Because, yeah.
I mean, if there's no documentation from any members of the public regarding this matter, it basically amounts to hearsay. So, I mean, really, this shouldn't be up for discussion. It's a safety issue, especially for the little ones in the vicinity. And I'm all for protecting members of our community.
Oh, so am I, right? In the way that's like, we should not be using stop signs to control speed, right? We should be using fines to control speed. We should be using enforcement to control speed, not stop signs.
Well, perhaps we should look at using a digital system on the back road there.
What we're talking about right here.
Yeah.
With recorded speeds and the RCMP can issue fines.
I'm not sure, but we used to have a radar gun, right?
They were in the trucks, the old pilot trucks. I'm not sure if it's
Back there. And people
calibrated
Oh,
enough
we could-
bar or we have.
Yeah, we could find out real quick if they're.
Certified, but we can.
see it on the main
So-
road.
What I was thinking was we'd set up our radar gun, right? And not give anybody fines, but pull people over, flag them over and say, okay, we've seen you going 30, whatever, through this zone, because it is 30 all the way from, I believe, the school right to the end, right? So that's one way to slow them down. And I do remember we had a couple of speeders in town around the time that them signs went up, right? And nobody wanted to go talk to the speeders, right? So they put up a stop sign. So
By you saying that, I know who
I know.
who one of them
Yeah.
was, right? So, and that person.
sure
is-
popped right into your, Councillor Fraser?
Yeah, and now that we're talking about it, I think like whether the stop sign is up or down, I think there does need to be more signage, like there is a daycare, there's children playing. Slow down, like
Prepare to stop.
prepare to stop,
Yeah,
like
stuff
those
like
things
that.
are just like easy things that we should be having anyway.
I think from the side, like from the back road, when you're either way, if you're new to town, you don't know that there is a daycare there. You know,
Yeah.
there's the one sign on the building facing
Yeah.
north. Maybe there needs to be something even just on the fence, kids corner daycare.
So what I noticed was they put up some really nice bright yellow kids playing signs, you know, down on that back road, couple of places around town, but none right around the daycare.
Yeah.
So we could look into those, but what I would like to do is get maybe Facebook opinions on what you should do with the stop signs, right? Because everybody comes to me, and they came to me before I was mayor, right? Saying what they thought of the stop signs, and it was never good. So
Did they give any reason that they thought it was bad?
Oh, well-
They just have to stop.
No, it's not just that you have to stop, it's the stupidity of where the stop signs are. They're on a road. Well, no, it's not the daycare, right? The daycare's on the other street.
It's the general area where the daycare is.
The general
intersection.
area, yes.
The intersection where the daycare sits. And I can't think of just somebody's inconvenience of having to stop. There's stop signs around town and
It's sort of like, because that's my issue with where the stop signs are and everything as well. It's on a straight stretch, but then where everybody goes to pick up the children is, I don't know what number street that is, where the daycare, where they pull up to pick up the children, because the
101.
the door, the back door is not usually where people drop off their kids. That's where the staff go through and go upstairs to. And usually parents are not dropping off kids at that side back door, like on the back door where you come in from the back road there. They go up the 101 street.
They park in there, they have a place for
So
parking.
that's where I think we should be more concerned with that 101 street and not so much the back. I don't know.
I know, and I know it sounds silly, but I have heard a few complaints about this stuff, especially when it first got there. I heard complaints about it. And I'm not really sure. I think it was just about that, about where they were placed. But I do understand the importance of having it. I understand the importance of, protecting our kids in that area, or even anybody walking on that back road, right? Like, my goodness, I worry about more there's a lot of intoxicated people walking on that back road, and that's, there has been lots of times where I have to be slowing down and avoiding.
There's not enough lighting on that back.
No, there's not. So,
Actually, that came up at a meeting, a couple meetings ago, and it's being worked on, I believe.
Yeah, they
okay.
listed some quotes. We were gonna bring it back to you guys after we have some more information.
well, also I would say children don't know one street from the next. They're not going to say, well, I'm just going to come out the door on this street and I'm not going to run onto that street.
No, that's the issue.
Yeah, so I don't think that's a good argument for removing them. I'm looking back 4 years ago, there was a post Brenda Moore posted. It says Brenda Moore with 10 other people, apparently 30 kilometers an hour, posting on Anton Drive from the Kids Park, Pelican Park to South Niagara Airways is the new high-speed zone. Village of Fort Simpson and Fort Simpson bylaw. Can you please enforce the rules? Blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on. And that started the discussion. There was also a discussion of ATVs that were driving on the roads, and how.
Which is still an issue.
So it just seems to me that we're going backwards if we're taking things away. If it was replacing it with something that was a better option,
Yeah.
this is something that's enforceable. So we can say, as a community, we want people to slow down and stop there and be aware there are children in the area. I have to mention again, that if anybody's considering removing it, we should probably get a legal opinion on what would happen if we remove it and somebody were to get hurt. We've identified it's a safety concern, and if we remove one way that we can enforce it, I think that would put us in a not so good place.
Nobody's ever been hurt on that corner before.
I'm not sure. I can't
So-
say I haven't lived here
So should we move,
forever.
put a stop sign down by Antoine Drive where they were speeding through over the email, or not email, post you just said? Should we put a stop sign there too?
But by the Elephant Park, I think it's good to have a stop sign.
Well, should we put one
I
on the
think-
back road right there too? Put a three-way stop there?
If people wanted it, then yes, we should look into that.
But we never asked the people for this stop sign. why would we ask them for that?
I just explained, I'm not sure why you're taking this as an attack. We're just.
It's not an attack. It's,
I'm just saying that people, I can see a post where people had come to council, I've been on council, people have said, this is a concern for us. It's been an issue for a long time. People mention they go down that road with strollers, there's no sidewalk, they're on the road and people are flying past them. So we were trying to think of ways to enforce it. The speed bumps didn't work. People didn't slow down. They had to do something else. This is something that's enforceable. And I believe it has made some impact because I don't see people speeding as much faster. They might stop and then speed up to make up the lost time, but then that's an issue to look at too. Maybe we have to look at enforcing speed limits there.
Councillor Fraser.
Yeah, like, because I've just been writing a couple of things, like more patrols. Maybe we could ask the RCMP to like monitor that a little bit more, even though they're short staffed. But I also am wondering why we don't utilize bylaw more for enforcement. Like, there's no reason, like, short of here, like, I've heard like a comment of like, we don't want to anger people, but that's the job, enforcement. And so like, why can't we do school zones back on the back road? Like, if there's guns that target speed, why aren't we utilizing that? You know, I'm not sure why we haven't, but if it's that big of a concern in our community, I don't understand why we wouldn't use something like that. And as far as I'm concerned, the bylaw is not supposed to be liked. The bylaw isn't supposed to be liked. He's the person that, or she is the person, he is the person, you know, that has to enforce things. So I get we are a small town, but I don't know if we're talking about safety, and how we can implement some of that, then I don't know. I just think we need to utilize it a little bit more.
So for myself, actually, because I know there's a daycare there and I know that it's kind of higher traffic at the beginning of the morning and then again at the end of the day, I don't take that street at all. I don't take the back road. I don't take 101st Street around those times because I know it's congested. Like, you know, there's more people there, like picking up all their kids, and just, I think if more people are just aware of those times, like their busy time of the day, picking up kids, then, I mean, that would eliminate some concern too of kids running out during those times, right?
Yeah.
I know they play out in my yard and things like that, but it's all fenced, and I think that's under control now with the new fencing. Yeah, just sharing that. That's what I do anyway personally. I just avoid the area during those high peak times. So.
Yeah, I do have a question. Yeah, what triggered this to be, you know, in the discussion to remove it? Because if there was no problem in the past, or is there, like what Troy was saying, was there you know, a complaint from the public that they don't want that because it's a hassle to have that stop sign? Because if it's working like that, leave it as it is. I know in the past when I went to by 50 and didn't realize there was a 30 there, I got a ticket of $100 with RCMP. Honestly.
Is that the Hay River RCMP?
No, it's a local RCMP. And then I you know, I wasn't paying attention until, you know, Pat asked me, oh, you're gonna have to go to the hearing. They said it's either you pay now or you go there. So I had to rushly pay the $100. So yeah, I guess it's up to the RCMP if they're around. Yeah, you know, it's so happened that happened because I was late already and I was working at ITI at the time. I went to the back. I thought it would be easier to get there, but that's when I found out there was a 30 speed limit, and I was going at 50. I got a ticket of 100 right there and then. I didn't even get a warning. It's just a ticket right away.
How fast were you going?
50.
I
And
can't
that was
remember
at
last time I did
10:30, at
50.
10:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, you get, so that's why I learned, oh, okay, I didn't realize that it's just a crosswalk or something, or kids in school, kids walking or kids crossing sign at that time, and that's when he said, did you see this? I said, oh, yeah. I was even looking at that.
Okay, I'm gonna put something on Facebook and see what the community thinks of the stop signs.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I don't remember any posts about that corner in particular.
Is there any way it could be put on our website instead?
Yeah.
The website nobody looks at.
Well, that's my,
That's like the agendas.
I would like to drop Facebook personally,
I
but
don't know.
I seem like in order to get any information, I need to be on there because I go to people's websites and there's no information on everybody's websites. Like,
Right, like if we put
start
everything
using their
on
own
the,
business websites and organization websites more.
I agree.
Go ahead there, Councillor Bulfandi.
I would say that since if we had some sort of letter that people were complaining about this, if there's ever been any complaints, then I could see there's an issue. As far as I know, we've only ever received people wanting people to slow down on that road and promote safety. I don't love the idea of doing Facebook polls because then if I want a certain thing passed, I say, let's put it on Facebook. And I would tell all my friends, you know what? If somebody cared enough for us to be spending an hour of time on an issue that's already been decided, if somebody cared enough to write a letter, I could see us having this conversation. But previous council, I will tell you, we accomplished very little because it was a waste of time arguing on issues where somebody would say yes or the other one would say no. This is how I feel. And I feel like this is an issue that was discussed and it might not have gone the way somebody wanted, but then we're bringing it up again just to see if this next group of people will pass it. It's being discussed. It's being put out in the community.
It was never put out in the community.
There was Facebook posts about it, and then afterwards, there were a few people that complained that they weren't used to having a stop sign there, and then people got used to it. At the end of the day, I'm not sure what reason somebody could come up with to make me change my mind that they don't want to stop. I can't think of any safety issue by having a stop sign. I don't understand what is such a big issue that we would remove it. Like, I just don't get it.
Councillor Fraser?
Yeah, I don't have Facebook, but I am a little bit, and the reason why I don't is because of all the negativity and all that kind of stuff. And so what I'm worried about is every time we have something that we want to get community feedback on, and who is the people looking and what kind of information will we get back? And just because there might be 100 people on there going, that's a stupid sign. But maybe not relevant. Maybe there's like a whole bunch of people saying, absolutely, we need it, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just concerned about getting our information that way. I don't know if our meetings are open to people. Like if people have major concerns then about the stop sign, then whether it be to stay or whether it to go, then they should be here. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like if we have like a major issue, then, and I think right now, like, is this gonna go to our regular meeting? Is this something we're deciding today?
That's why I put it on the cow.
Okay.
Because I didn't want it
Yeah,
in the regular meeting just yet, right?
okay.
So I wanted
So I'm all,
discussion on it.
yeah, and I'm all about getting maybe some feedback from the community, but just maybe in a different way than Facebook. For me, Facebook is so negative, and
I
that's
just
the
think
kind
it's
of
fast.
feedback. It is fast,
Right.
but you want to be reaching, like I'm on council, obviously, I'll say what it is here, but like, I don't have Facebook, so if I wasn't sitting at this table, I wouldn't see it and I wouldn't respond, you know, and so a little bit worried about that.
So maybe what I'll do is I'll set up a little poll booth over by the stop signs and I'll just ask people, hey, do you want to keep the stop signs or no? Right? That would work, right?
Maybe
could.
there could be a suggestion box or something
Here.
in the office here.
Yeah.
People can
I
drop
don't
off
know,
That would be
their
nice.
letters or whatever they,
Find the time to do that, Dave. Would people find the time to do
to
that?
look at it all.
Yes.
No, just this one
Why
or
this
one of them,
Why this one over any other?
because
It's for the safety of.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, well, so when somebody asks me something, I don't tell them, put that in writing and bring it to the office.
You should, in my opinion, you should just tell the guys, because hearsay, when I was on DEA, we would get letters, an anonymous letter that this happened.
Oh, no, yeah, we don't do anonymous.
People, we get all these things. If this was such a huge issue to be bringing it up again, I'm surprised that nobody has ever taken the time to come in and tell the SAO or tell the staff in the office. It's really never even crossed my radar that anybody has ever had an issue with this. I know people said they didn't notice it there when it first got put in and they said, oh, I keep forgetting it. But since then, people have gotten used to it. And I really don't understand why this is coming up now and why we would give this particular issue now an hour of our time.
Was it long?
And put out a community petition
Yeah.
to remove a safety. Like, I just don't
Yeah.
really understand. where this is
Yeah.
going.
Councilor Fraser?
And I just want to add, because I've heard Councilor Bellefontaine say a couple of times, like the previous DEA. So I have an issue a little bit with those kind of comments, only because we are a new DEA, our new council, and I think that if we're coming here with new ideas and new information and want something different, then I think that there's value in that. And I am one of those people that are not okay with shoving the hearsay, because there's lots of people for important reasons that wouldn't come to certain meetings. And if someone's coming to me going, knowing that I'm sitting where I'm sitting, going, can you please bring this up? It's important to me, but I just don't feel comfortable going for whatever reason. And you coming as an advocate or using your voice as an advocate for certain things, when I hear hearsay, it twists my mind, because it's not hearsay. It's not hearsay. It's people's valuable information that they're bringing to you to share with your council for choices and decisions. So I am not about like shoving, like if they want to write a letter, fine, anonymous, but I do think I think you get a lot of your truth from hearsay. So I worry about that a little bit when we say that in meetings, whether it be here or over there or whatnot. So listen, this is about safety of our kids, safety for our community. I think we could be doing more. And I think that we should probably get some community, if community engagement for this has never been done and last council just decided it because they decided it, I think there should be a little bit of community engagement, but not take away the sign. We have to figure that out, because you're right, it would be a liability.
We could change the sign or something. Go ahead there, Councilor.
Yeah, just with regards to hearsay and stuff, I'm saying in this situation, this is not a major, like, if there was something that maybe somebody would be uncomfortable about, or they'd be worried about blowback, or, how they'd be treated later, then yes, I would understand. I think that is important. We get voted in, we're here for a reason. So people may feel more comfortable going to one or the other. I just find it hard to believe that this overwhelming amount of people are uncomfortable coming forward with the reasons for this, that, like, it's just strange that we've never heard it. Like, to me, that's why I'm saying for this particular issue. But in general, yes, I think people should feel comfortable to express and communicate to the council. However, but ideally in writing, if people have such a hardcore issue with it, I think they should be willing to attach their name to it, you know?
Okay. That's what I'll do. I'll put it on Facebook. Bring in a letter to, no, just kidding. Okay, Counselor, Sullivan.
So are we all gonna come to an agreement on this, that it is?
No, we're just discussing it, right? There's no decisions made at the COW, right? We're just, seeing how the council feels and then we're gonna,
Well, but I wasn't, sorry, I didn't word it right. So we're all in agreement that it is a safety and liability issue, right? So, yeah, I think that. What Councillor Fraser said, that, yeah, more community.
some engagement,
Yeah.
right? And I'll think of a way to look for that. Maybe I will do a poll.
And not Facebook, like it should be.
Well, I'll tell them on Facebook, hey, I'm gonna be down at the stop signs, come and sign the petition.
Yeah.
Well, then they'd have to stop.
Yeah, well, so you had mentioned earlier, Councillor Belfonte, that there was really no first, second, third reading or a vote or anything. It just happened. Do we need to formalize it by passing a motion? That's what if the next meeting, if ever, or do you need some kind of feedback first or before, you remove or you retain that? Because if that's the one that's only missing, is then let's formalize it by passing a motion.
Okay.
At the next meeting?
Yeah, that's, so that doesn't
It's
keep
done
on
properly.
lingering every time,
Okay, let's not do it at the next meeting. We'll do it at the one after. The first one of the month. The next one's like that week, right? Doesn't give me enough time.
February 3rd would be your next, or for the next month.
Okay, stop sign removal, that was a good discussion. Okay, opening Mackenzie Drive to one-way traffic. Yes, that road was closed a year ago, year and a half.
Just after the flood.
Shortly after the flood.
Yeah. So, since then, there's been drug dealing going on the back roads. I think 2 people almost died there from, exposure, that sort of thing. Somebody that was pushed off the bank that I can remember. A lot of stuff happening on that back road since there's no police patrols, right? There's no access for the fire department, right? So if we're talking safety concerns, I'd like to see that open to a one-way street. One-way street, north of 101 Ave, and then both ways on this end, where we've got a couple houses and their access is limited. Was there- Fraser?
Is this like from the health center to all the way down?
Yes.
Okay, so I couldn't open up the riverbank study, or report, so is it safe for it to be open? Like, I guess that's my question, is it safe for people to use?
It was closed from engineering concerns because of the stability of the bank.
And it's still that,
It's
right?
still there.
Oh my God.
So I mean, I just because there's engineering concerns in place, I don't think it'd be a good idea.
No.
Because then we're opening up huge liabilities towards the village.
Liability from,
What if
If
something
the
happened?
vehicle goes over the side, then we're responsible. All of us are responsible for that because we chose to go against engineering.
so that's why I said to make it a one-way.
Or with, like, if they're saying structurally it's not safe, like, in my head, I'm thinking like, what if with time over use, it like caves in or?
We'd have to revisit engineering to see if we could open it up for one-way traffic. That's the only way we're gonna be able to open that road.
Okay, so,
And another thing too, like I did go through the report regarding the stability of the bank. I think we should lobby the NWTAC to obtain funding so we can pull off that project. There's no guarantee this river isn't gonna rise again. Right? There's no guarantee. It's just the riverbank, whole river frontage is just completely unstable nowadays. And like we have heavier snow loads now than we had last year. And I don't know. It would have to go to engineering.
Yeah.
It would absolutely have to go to engineering. And that's the only way we'd be able to open up that road safely. Even if it's for one-way traffic, it would still have to go through engineering.
okay. The river eroding, that happened when we had high water in June. Right? That was not during a breakup. That was not during a regular.
That was the year
That was
after
the flood.
that was the year after the flood.
Yeah, but we had high water in
We had
June.
very high water and there was severe undercutting of the entire river frontage.
But even with the erosion that happened then, we only lost 2 feet of the bank, right? It's not, we didn't lose the middle of the road.
It's an engineering issue.
Yeah.
It's absolutely an engineering issue, and I can't support this. Like I can't unless it goes to engineering.
Okay, well, let's do that. Let's get engineers in here.
If they were to say that it was safe for people to drive on, but like, I don't think I would feel comfortable driving on it if it was
If
engineers that it's
engineering okayed it for light vehicles, then perhaps we can open it for one-way traffic. But until that happens, I can't support this.
Okay, okay, oh, sorry, Shelf.
No, she was.
Oh, yeah. So, I did actually read the document. That's all I had to Google what the meaning of some of the stuff actually. Like they have that toe erosion. I was wondering what does that mean, and stable slope and stuff like that. But on the stable slope allowance, it says in here clearly that, it's the result of the stability analysis carried out indicates that the existing slope is unstable. So the factor of safety against failure is approximately 1 or less. That's what it says. When they didn't close that before, shortly after we had the flood, when I drove there too before, you could feel already a little slope on that main road without having, looking at the grassy part of it, because where the grassy part, that's where you see.
Yeah,
If
that's
you
where
go on
the-
the Google map, you could even see that separation from that, and it's just a matter of time. And I was looking at it, they were looking at the toe slope. You don't even have enough toe slope. That's what they're calling is that the main one at the bottom to hold it up on the top, because it's detaching. It's a matter of time. We're lucky that last year when we had the breakup, we didn't have that much water, but we don't know how it's gonna be. And they even mentioned here to do to stabilize that, it's gonna cost us $13 million, for that in order to open it. I think, and again, it's a liability. If, for example, you open it, right now, before you used to have those concrete barrier, some of the concrete barrier even fell. So why would we take chance again? That's what I was wondering.
Councillor Shelf.
I just feel like the same thing if it's a safety issue. And if Adrian said he has those signs with, surveillance, put that up. If it's a matter of drug trafficking or, whatever, then there you go, you're on camera.
We do need more awareness of what's happening on that road. I do hear from one resident that has cameras, and our cameras are constantly being triggered, especially in the summer. There's all kinds of activity, people walking along that road, and it's just, I think it's the drug activity within the area and having the police being able to
Pass.
patrol back there at least, somehow giving them access would really benefit our community, I think, as a whole. Also, I have heard from another resident that now has problems getting to her residence because of the road being blocked off. So she can only go the one way down the Nahani Inn and to her residence and has to come around the same way. She can't go drive through, and I wish like if it can be opened, it can be open to at least the RCMP and residents that live on that street so that they can at least have the one way through right to the health center.
That spot over there, there's only 30 meters, 20 meters, 30 meters of the road closed. And that's two-way traffic there.
Which area are you saying?
The one right by the health center stop sign, right? That's only shut down from there to that residence.
Yeah.
Right, so
I know I've heard from the people that live in that house that is their concern, that now they have to drive around and they wish like just even for just themselves that if they can drive through, go past the health center and the RCMP station to get to the main road, then they would be really, appreciative if they can use the street in front of them like that.
So the last time we had any erosion like that was like probably in the mid 80s, late 80s, right? And they did some, we'll say reclamation, or they did some sort of testing, fixing up down behind, very close to the Nineplex, right? And we did everything on that back road when I was growing up, even to this day. So in 50 years, they only lost like maybe 8 feet of the road on that back road. Along this side here, there's maybe 5 feet that's gone in the last 50 years, right? Just because we had one high water season in the middle of summer, right? Where we might have lost 2 feet, there's no reason to shut the road down forever.
These were recommendations from engineering. Like, that's why the road is closed right now. And if we're just to not abide by engineering recommendations, then we're all liable. If something happens to somebody, the vehicle goes over, we're all liable. And I don't want to be a part of that. I can't be a part of that. We want to open up, even if it's a single lane traffic, we need to go to engineering about this. We cannot make this decision as a council on our own, of our own accord. It has to go to engineering.
Councillor Fontaine.
Yeah, so again, this is an issue that I think if there was some sort of reason this was coming up, if there was some overwhelming, I'm not sure why this is being brought up. If the issue was concerns about stuff happening by the river, we could have put that on as a subject. How can we solve that rather than this one particular solution?
Well,
and this has come up before, and the road was reduced to single lane traffic, and then it got to a point where they said it should be shut down. And I remember that you had mentioned this before. Is it going to be closed forever? And they said yes. And all of the councillors said there's no way that we would ever say to open it against the advice. So I don't know why we're having, again, a long conversation on this. I think just to the point is that we would be putting ourselves at liability. If vehicles went on there and something were to happen, after they leave is unsafe. And I mean, at this point, I'm sure there's people that, when I moved here in 1996, we used to walk all along the whole riverbank. There was that little trail. It was a nice place to walk. And I mean, I'm sure you could probably squeeze a small vehicle through on that trail now, but would we open it? Because it's, you know, people might want to drive their ATVs there or skinny. Like, I just think we have to go with what's safe. We've got signs all along there saying unstable bank, don't go so close. And in fact, where the monument is, there's still people that park there. And there's areas when the ice was going by right in front of those Northern Star houses, people were standing and it was undercut and they were standing and looking over. And I thought we should even do more than the little signs we have, because people, they don't take it seriously. They see this top looks stable, but an engineer has said that it is not safe. I don't think we should really even be entertaining further discussion on it. I feel like it's been given time in the past. And if something new came up, I could see it being brought forward. But the riverbank it's not building up over time. Like it's getting worse. So I don't know. I think it's a non-issue. I don't even know why we're having that discussion.
There's still access on the houses there because I'm looking at the Google map here. They still have some access, like the one close to where, in the corner where ITI office, the housing there. There's an opening, they go in there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
open on the other side.
On the other side, because where the property of Moas there, where the old house, right here, right there, they still can go through here this way. It's just they have to go turn left at the back there, because the rest, if it's coming from the health center or the long-term care, those houses are owned by the two plots there are owned by the RCMP, and they have access to the back. That's where their entrance.
It's the one over. It's this one.
That one there. And who lives in there? Like they could go in here too. There's another
They are,
road.
but they're just hoping that they
Yeah.
can have access the other way.
Yeah. So if they open it, yeah. I know that, when you mentioned about some people who died there, fell, or they found them dead, or someone.
No, they never found them
That
dead
was
yet.
quite a while back, even before the erosion happened. That already happened in the past. It's just like kids always, that's where they dump all the bikes that they're stealing, actually, in that little ravine that we have there.
So I just want to say, so this is an issue. This is going back to where we need to start developing off this island. A lot of our critical infrastructure is on the river frontage, and we absolutely need to develop off this island. There's no guarantee we're not going to be hit with another high water event or another flood. We cannot, yes, we have low water rate now, but we cannot be certain that we're not going to lose our riverfront again. It's not even a possibility. Like I think we should be looking at lobbying for funding to develop our river frontage, to reinforce our river frontage to prevent more erosion, and look at developing off island. And those are the only two options that we really have. And until there's any kind of reinforcement in place, I really don't see that road being open to two-way traffic at all. And I'm certainly not going to, get involved in. I don't want to be held liable for any kind of issues on that river frontage at all. So we have to stick by engineering's guidelines.
I'd like to have it engineered, come in and see if we can open one-way traffic.
Yeah, the report that the Stantec did was March 3rd of 2023, almost a year ago. But even the picture that they have here is not even that updated after the flood. This is before the flood.
I would say it might be a good idea to get get some sort of idea on what this will cost us? Because I know this study was not cheap.
That
And,
study, they were in here for a couple of days.
and
No, that's the study to fix.
Stantec.
Yeah, that's the study to fix, like to do the abatement and all that.
how much are we thinking is reasonable if we ask them to do a study to open the road? Because it's not something you're just gonna walk by and be able to look at it and say, yeah, I think it's safe. You're going to have to do work. It's going to have a big price tag. We're already looking at raising taxes.
I'm thinking that's like the $25,000 come in and say, yes, it's safe to go one way.
And do we think, if they've already said it's not safe, do we
No,
think?
no,
spending
so we asked them, what we asked them for there is for not a study, but a design to fix the, right?
Yeah.
To eliminate the erosion, right? So they came up with a plan to do a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 slope, right? That would cost $15 million. For them to come in here and say, it is safe to go one way on this street, would be that them coming in and doing an assessment and say, yes, it looks safe to go one way, right? We've got, from the side of the road to the bank, we've got probably 11 meters, right? You only need 3 for a truck.
I mean, if everybody thinks it's a good idea, even though we've already been told it's not safe to spend money, I think we could ask them, just send an email rather than, I don't even know why we're addressing it in the first place, but if we were, I think send an email and say, based on the information you've gathered through this, do you recommend opening the road? Would it be safe? And if they say we'd need to do more work, how much would that cost us? And then we can make a decision if we think it's worth that amount of money.
That would probably have to happen.
Yeah.
They're not gonna
Just decide to,
they won't respond to an email. They're gonna say, oh, we're gonna have to come in.
and they're gonna be liable. They're not gonna just say.
Yeah.
It would require work.
Yeah, well, they're gonna have to come in and evaluate, but that doesn't mean they're gonna come in and, do drilling and all that. They're gonna come in and do an evaluation. And I did see them when they were here. They went for a boat ride and they walked up and down the road. And then they came up with that plan.
Have you read this? Yeah, because why do we have to duplicate it again when it clearly says in here? They identified even the high, medium, low erosion and areas. Why do we have to do it again? When they clearly states here, it's not safe. The other thing, they even itemize the slope stabilization options. You have different kind of options already, and they have identified the pros and cons. So based on that, it's a matter of which one we prefer and which one are we willing to spend money on. But the price tag that they did is $13 million. And where do we get that dollars? And you're right, we have to find the money.
We're gonna have to go to the NWTAC and
Yeah.
lobby for funding in order to pull up a massive engineering project like
Yeah.
that. And this is where I've been saying for a number of years that we need to start looking at developing off island. We need to develop freshwater resources off this island for our residents off island. Like it's just, this island's not gonna be here forever. It's not gonna be here forever. It's the last 10 years have shown how fragile our river frontage really is.
So
I think that we can put money into, I prefer, I guess, just to, instead of having them come back and tell us whether or not we can open the road, I'd rather spend every cent we can towards
Yes.
the actual thing,
Yes,
the bank.
license.
I think,
In some ways.
I think we should look at lobbying for funding through the federal government. There's resources there. We can use the NWTAC for resources there. We need to look at options here. But I can assure you that opening up that road for a handful of vehicles isn't, it's not safe.
It's not for a handful of vehicles, it's for a handful of safety vehicles, right? Police and fire.
And it's still absolutely not safe according to the engineering.
But they have access though. They have access.
From the.
Just
Back
through-
road access.
they just don't
They
have
access
through.
on the other side.
Yeah,
They completely did not block anything that those people have no access at all. There's some opening, if you look at, you have a Google map, you can Google map there.
yeah, this side's open from the Nahanni Inn Road,
So-
and then on that side, it's
Yeah.
open from where the government dock is.
So from, I'm not sure whose house it is, the big white one. I'm gonna say
Bobby.
there's 3 houses that are, that are not accessible for the fire truck from that side. From the other side, they've got to go, 50 yards before they get to the house, the back of the house. Right? So they're fighting it from Main Street. Yeah, the accessibilities.
Yeah, they have a little back road there, in the corner
Yeah.
for Bob's place there,
Yeah,
but
those
they
ones-
still can go
I
to
think
the
there's
front.
three-
Yes.
Three,
Yeah,
the other way.
Three
I
houses?
Certainly wouldn't want to encourage a fire truck to be on an unstable road like that,
Exactly.
full of water.
But it's not unstable.
Yes.
Nowhere.
Well, then maybe we should get, if this is something that council wants to vote on, and we could look at that down the road to see if we want to spend the money on that and get an opinion. But my understanding is that it is unstable.
There's like I say.
Counselor, that's what I've just said, that it's that the report says it's unstable, so.
It says in here. That's why they're proposing, like what you said, like Councilor Tetsu was saying is that, you got 2 options, actually. It's either you fix that one, you're gonna lose it anyways, but for prevention, yeah, you can do what you need to do prevent, and meanwhile, you look for another option to relocate or another
Yeah.
place. Because right now, they're still built, like in that housing there from, where the cops housing is. They even have new buildings in there. And I'm surprised they went still and continued onto that. They hardly have anything at the back, where the water is. Still, they did that. So it's a matter of they're taking their own risk.
And the most feasible option was to grade that down.
Yeah.
Which would be to remove the road, but to grade it down. We would be removing, like, none of these are, the more expensive options were to secure the slope and maybe buy more time. But even then, we'd be spending so much money.
Oh, yeah.
And at this point, until that's done, we couldn't even look at real. It's just, I'm not sure. From looking around, I think the general consensus is that nobody's prepared to move on this right now. And I mean, again, we're half an hour into this conversation, and I don't understand why this even came forward.
So
I'm thinking is that maybe we can develop the road there where Bob's place is at the back, because it's still a gravel. Maybe widen it a bit and then maybe put some more fire hydrant close by if there's anything, I don't know how many.
Back road, no, it's kind of covered by the riverbank and then the Main Street hydrants. There's
Yeah.
somewhat of an overlap between the two that they can get to the
Yeah.
house.
Because maybe that can actually become a road, like an
Yeah.
actual, like it is like a,
It's a little pie
Yeah.
thingy there, and then
There's
you
a
have
fire
a government
hydrant
building
right
there
on
now.
100th Street, right next to my
Yeah.
house.
Because you have a government building in that corner now
uh-huh.
as well. And RCMP on the other, across the street, in fact.
okay. Yeah, the dog bylaw.
So,
It's amending ours to mirror other jurisdictions. It's a good idea. Um, I went through it online. I went through the terms.
I read the bylaw, right? But the recommended revisions based on the proposed, on the licensing and identification. All dogs over 6 months must be licensed annually. And then there's one permanent tags for neutered spayed dogs, similar to Hay River's lifetime license, and temporary tags for all dogs renewed annually for fees. So these are additional suggestions or additions, or those are options?
Suggestions.
Yeah, okay. I have no problem with this one.
So say that again.
The licensing on the first one here, because the recommended revision, the proposed ones is the licensing and identification, leash loads and off-leash areas, control of aggressive and all that stuff, noise control, cleanliness, owners. I mean, like, there's already some in there. It's a matter of just incorporating some of your wordings onto the current bylaw, right?
Okay.
I did go through that on the email. I didn't see anything bad about that at all.
Yeah.
I mean, we have an issue with dogs in this community, of course, and not just here, but every community, but I mean, if we can amend our bylaws to make it safer for our residents, I'm all in support of that.
Yeah.
Okay. My problem is last year, we spent in excess of $50,000 on dogs, just on housing dogs,
Oh, the dog pounds.
right? In the last 4 months, we spent $18,000 and we don't have a dog
In the pound.
contract,
Oh.
right? So we've housed, oh, go ahead.
I would say if we're going to be talking about contracts,
No, we're not talking contracts.
okay, but this is bylaw related. So I would think we should stick to that and maybe stay away from any contractual stuff, because if we're talking about contracts, then I would have to leave the room.
No, we don't want to talk
And
about
then
contracts.
So,
This is all public information because it's public money that we're spending. So
Yeah.
we're allowed to say how much we spent on the dogs.
Yeah.
Right? So last year we spent 50 grand. Right? And if we go the way we're going this year, we're gonna spend more than 50 grand.
mhm.
So we've got a dog contract, or not dog contract, dog bylaw
Yeah.
that sort of protects the dog more than it protects the community, right? We've got no real teeth in this bylaw.
Yeah.
Right? We've got vicious dogs that can be vicious as long as we pay the fine, right? There's no recourse to deal with the vicious dogs. All we do is give the owners a fine, right? Right now, we're just housing dogs. We have to come up with a plan to deal with the dogs, either euthanize them or,
No.
or ship them out?
The plan of licensing dogs is so that they are given back to the owner, that we know who the dog belongs to. The whole point, what we should be encouraging is trying to keep dogs at home with their owner.
I've yet to see anybody post anything saying, is this your dog?
Don't look at Facebook because whenever.
Or like anywhere in town, I've never seen a poster of a dog saying, is this your dog?
then
I have seen one or two.
I see it, if not daily, weekly for sure. There's posts about dogs that are loose and people trying to get them home. Like, hey, this little guy is loose on this street. People do it all the time. And then
Yep.
some people say, oh, that's my dog, I'm out of town, and somebody can go get them. And that's the community working together, trying to keep the dogs home and safe.
But if once a dog is caught and tamed, I guess, like how do we, how does the village office announce that we have a German Shepherd cross, take a picture of it and post it? That's what I think maybe the mayor's trying to say, is that there's never, like right now, I would not know if there's 10 dogs in the pound or 1 or 2 or none. Like, I just don't know if somebody's looking for their dog, do they call the village office normally? Like, you would think that maybe they would, but not all owners are. Not all owners do that. Their dog will get loose from their chain or their rope or whatever they have them tied to outside, and then it's like, well, maybe a wolf. They don't check that, right? Which is sad. So just like, how do we let the public know that there is a dog that is in our care, I guess? And then how long do we keep it? How long do we keep it? Like, there's nothing maybe in the bylaw that says that we are keeping the dog for 3 days and then we're sending it off to the SPCA or some other option, look for a permanent home for it.
And the owner will.
Like, there's no option, right? And then if the person cannot afford the fine, then, if they're waiting for a check that comes 2 weeks from today and they know their dog is there, then this is just compounding for them. And then it's get to a point where they just can't afford to take the dog. I don't know. Like, when do we say, like, we need to do something permanent with this dog instead of letting it just live wherever it's living, in the pound or. Yeah.
Yeah, this is sort of like a thorn in my side, to be honest. One, when I saw this on here, I was like, why isn't the bylaw is not invited to discuss sort of these things and what his role is and what he does and how he responds and where he puts them and all of those things, because he is the better one to ask those questions to. So, and I can't be the one telling the bylaw to come, because then it looks like me just making work for him, but these are my questions. The other thing about that is you're exactly, so I have seen when I did have Facebook, like when a dog came, listen, the bylaw, so right now, like in my head, I'm like, there should be a dog person, not the bylaw. There should be an actual dedicated dog person to deal with all the dog stuff, but there isn't. So it's left to bylaw. And then you see things posted when they have been coming into, if the owners don't want them back or can't afford them back or pay the fine or whatever, which is really sad. But at the same time, there should be more fines because people are bad dog owners. And then like maybe if there was more fines and it was more stern, then maybe they wouldn't be so loose. I don't know. But then it breaks my heart to see these dogs um, in certain places. In saying that, like there's options, like if a dog comes in and you're waiting for someone to pay the fine, and maybe SPCA's full in Yellowknife, but there's other places, like there's other places for dogs to go, and especially vicious dogs, there's a place that we can do. And yes, we might have to invest a little money and get them, but some places they even pay for the dog to go. But we need to be in the know. We need that information, and we need to like not have roadblocks to get them there, because you're either going to spend X amount of dollars for the dog to sit here, or we find them the proper place. And like, I'm okay with the dog having like us protecting the dog. And I know some people might be like, it's just a dog, but like my dogs are my family. And so, and they're really, really super important. And I, like I don't like to see dogs running around in the cold or things happening that I see in the community with the animals, or that they have to be in places that they probably shouldn't be. And I'm okay for us to have a nice pound for them to be, if that's where they're going to be. But we have to think of something, because this obviously is not working. Like, I don't know if it's more strict on the bylaw, if it's, and you know what? I'm gonna just say this, and maybe I need to wait till in camera, but like, we have someone very, 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 very knowledgeable on our council when it comes to dogs or animals in general, and that's Troy. And we, like, I know we may not be able to utilize them for some of these things, but when it comes to the vet, like I know the vet this year was an issue coming in, and who was being seen and who didn't get seen, and all of these things. Like, I think like we need to be utilizing the resources that we have for connection and knowledge and support. And he's sitting right here. So like, I think we need to like do a little better that way too.
Just on that, I would say it's come up many times that we should have a meeting to discuss dog bylaws, and it's just never happened.
Okay.
There's been discussion about somebody was bit by a dog, and a person came and said, let's have a community meeting, get information from the community of what people would like to see. There are concerns. It never happened. It was brought forward again, never happened. Dog bylaws are in place to protect people. It's not to take people's dogs away. The idea is to give them back, to keep, and we need to educate the community. I will say this over and over again. We don't do, and I would think it's the bylaw position that would do it. They can run little workshops, they can put newspaper ads, they can put information out, send out a mailer, letting people know what the bylaws are. But we should update them. Some of our bylaws, if you abandon a dog, you're supposed to pay $5,000. But are we doing that? No. People are abandoning dogs, and it costs the village or it costs the SPCA. Somebody has to pay for these things. So eventually we should be doing what we can to control the population. We should have vet visits. I was talking to the SPCA when I planned the last clinic, and they agreed that they could come every 6 months. We could have a clinic between Vets Without Border and the SPCA every 6 months. We had talked about giving free, I can't remember which year it was, but I had said, why don't we just say free licensing? And they sent out a mailer, and then Kevin sent it out to every mailbox, that if you register your dog now, it's free. Then we had a list of people. And now that we have the list, we could work from there. If dogs are fixed, people have done their part, so then they wouldn't have to relicense them every year. It's just a suggestion, but they could, if we know they're fixed and they've got their shots, all you would have to do is call and let us know, show proof that they've had their shots. Then we know that people are being safe. If your dog is not fixed, then you should pay. I believe it was $10 and $25 for the licensing now. In Nova Scotia, it's much more. I know lots of places are charging more and more. If somebody doesn't want to get their dog fixed and they want to breed them or have a business, they should pay more because it's going to result in dogs on the streets, which will cost everybody more money.
Yes.
Even if the SPCA has been so good to us and they never get the credit they should. They have spent thousands and thousands of dollars every year flying dogs out that have been injured and the person can't afford to pay for it. So they will make sure the dog gets the treatment. Like this happens all the time. The flights alone, like I believe it was the first year I was here, I think we sent out 200 dogs in 1 year between dogs and puppies. It's crazy. It started to get under control. It's not so much under control anymore, but this is why we have dog violence, to try to get it under control and help people be responsible. Some people don't know. They don't know the best practices. So it's our job to look at other municipalities, see what they're doing, see what's working, and come up with ideas. We don't want to make it. I know one lady that had to give up her dog and it ended up in the pound and she couldn't pay to get it back. And now she doesn't have her dog. And she loved her dog. But the dog, for whatever reason, was getting loose all the time and she doesn't have it. And that dog, luckily, is in a home now. It's gone off to go home. But it would be nice if for the dog, dogs, they're part of the family. They're pack animals. They become part of the pack, that family. And to take them away just because the person couldn't pay sucks. So I think we should be looking at ways that we can work with people, educate the community, help them out. The village was doing so good. They were bringing in straw. It was a recommendation. So people that have outdoor dogs, the village brought in straw. I'm not sure.
This is my concern too, is we can't afford to keep care of all of these dogs. The population just keeps increasing. We're giving them free vet visits and free straw, and we're just throwing all the money that should be used to operate other things that are, for people, not, like, I don't know. It's a lot. I feel like we're throwing so much money towards the dogs in this community, even the dog park and the amount of time the guys have to go and clean the dog park, and because people aren't picking up after their dogs. And so our staff have to be down there more often to clean that up, and when they can be somewhere else working, doing something else. I spend so much money on the dog population that we need to control it. We need to, vicious dogs as well. In other places, vicious dogs, they just euthanize them. They destroy them. They're no longer a problem. They're not given back to their owner with a fine and a warning. You've bitten a child or whatever. It's a vicious dog. They're dealt with immediately. How many chances does a dog get before it actually, really harms a child, kills a child possibly? I don't know. I just feel like there's so much money that's being spent on dogs in our community. We can't continue to throw money at like this. Even with the vet visits, why isn't there sort of should everybody get a free vet visit? Why can't, we look at their incomes or something and say, well, your family household makes more than this amount. So, we would like you to pay 75% of your vet visit. And it's, you guys are, you make whatever, 50,000 and under, and you still want your pet to have the shots or whatever. Okay, well, you guys, we'd like you still to contribute some towards this cost, because it does cost the village a lot of money to have the vet come in. So I think somehow we need to recover the cost of how much the dogs are costing us in the community.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I would talk about before is that we need to come up with, we need to strengthen and make bylaws that make sense for our community. So vicious dogs, if we can prove that it was the dog, because I know the village has imposed fines on people when they can't prove that it was their dog, and based on word in the street that, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was their dog, and then they get fined for it, and now their dog is registered as vicious. If the village took my dog and killed it based on somebody else's word and they had no proof, I would sue them. I would go after them. There's no way that I would put up with that. But we do need to come up with a fine. And if there's proof that a dog has attacked somebody, if that's what we decide, there are communities that once a year go around and shoot all the loose dogs. And that's what works for them. I don't like that idea. I think we should be, because otherwise you get people that get a puppy and then it gets a little bit older and they're like, oh, whatever, once a year, I'll just leave them outside. Somebody else will shoot them. They don't have to see it happen. They don't care. And that it happens. But if a community were going to do that, some of these communities that are out of control, if they were going to do that, they better do that once and then make sure people understand, because nobody wants to be doing that. Nobody wants to be shooting dogs. We've had that happen here before, and there are people that have had to do it. We need to come up with bylaws that put the responsibility back on the people, the dog owners, and educate them on what the expectations are. And if they're not, I've even thought we should have bylaw go door to door. I mean, we've got about 500 households. Go knock on each door and say, hi, do you have any dogs and cats in your house? You know, we'd like to make a list of all the animals we have in our community. You know, then we know. And if the dog gets loose, we know it's your dog. We can bring them back to you. It doesn't have to be, and then we know it's your dog and you're in trouble. We can approach it in a way that we're trying to help. But you need to understand that when these things, when you talk about the money, I see how much the money the SPCA pays, and people say, oh, we'll just give them to the SPCA. That's the solution. And they're like, well, they'll just deal with it. But they spend so much money, it's ridiculous how much money they spend on our community, and we do nothing ourselves. We need to set some rules in place and enforce them, in my opinion,
Too.
so that we are being as responsible as we can. And if council were to decide that there's so many loose dogs, we need to go around and do a roundup and deal with them somehow, then that's something that we should all have to vote on. But what is the solution after that? How do we ensure this doesn't keep happening? Because somebody's paying for it somewhere, and it's not fair, but somehow it has to be dealt with. And the idea of the dog park, I was the one that recommended we get a dog park, and it keeps so many dogs off the streets. This community, I don't know if you've noticed a difference, but it used to be stray dogs everywhere. Now there's a lot of people, you see them walking their dogs on leashes. You see people going down to the dog park. People are amazed at how good our dog park is. And the only other dog park I know of in Northwest Territories is in Yellowknife, and theirs is nowhere near as good as ours. And yes, it requires work, but I'm proud of that. I think having a dog park here, it shows that we care about animals, and it looks nice. It's a nice community. Like it's a nice place. I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. But I think we should meet.
And they have a little thing there where they have the cook deck there for free for them to
Some people
use,
don't use it.
you know,
That
and,
But some people don't have kids and we pay for schools, right? Like
I know, I mean, like, should we put CCTV camera there so we tell them, oh, you're hot or something like that. So, I mean, like, I completely agree with you. I don't like dogs being euthanized or shot because you don't like them. People you want to raise a dog, you want to keep a dog, be responsible. That's it, right? Like, they're people's companion regardless. You know, it's just up. It's the people, if you felt that they're not responsible, they're not being responsible with the dog, can I say, oh, Rishenda, she's beating up the dog or letting loose of the dog? Can I report that to the bylaw officer? Maybe can you check what kind of help she needed? Maybe she needs to get rid of the dog, just didn't have the time to do it, or you can feed the dog or something. Because in the past, I've seen, this is like few years back, when people leave their dogs outside in a short leash even, and in the coldest months, and they don't have anything to protect themselves. They don't even have a dog house or something like that. And it was on Facebook at one point in time, like said, why are they letting, find them, find those people. That's what I was, yeah, if we need to put that in the bylaw, let's put it there. Although, the fines that was in here are more for if you don't pick up the dog, first offense, second offense, third offense. Yeah.
I believe Troy had his hand up first.
Another suggestion I had before was that if somebody has a dog, it's happened, like I know individuals that have given away 5 dogs to the SPCA, one after the other. I think that if somebody is abandoning a dog, sure, we say we're going to charge them $5,000, but we're not. And if they have no money to feed their dog, they're certainly not going to pay $5,000 to abandon their dog. But if we work with them and say, hey, you know what? You can't keep your dog. The dog got porcupine quills, whatever, and it needs to go out.
Yeah.
If the SPCA is willing to take that dog, then as a community, we should be saying, okay, the village and the SPCA are dealing with this. We're sending the dog out. And once it goes out, this has cost the community money. So we're going to need either you would pay this fine for abandoning a dog, or we want to work with you. Can you agree? The other option is that you will not get a dog for 2 years or what, and have an agreement. And if you do, if you go get another dog, then you will have to pay that fine. It's going to follow you. There's got to be something. We want to work with people, but at the same time, have options, because it's happened. So I'm sure we all know people that have gotten dog after dog after dog, and then they leave them loose because they're not a little puppy anymore. They don't
They were
want them.
cute puppies at Christmas and then come summertime, they're just in the way. The grass is full of poop and kids are stepping in it and they don't want the dog anymore. Yeah.
But we can put that on the person. And I know we don't want to charge people tons of fines, but anybody here there's dogs we've seen that we see
All the time.
daily. Like there are dogs that are, and they're downtown, they're up on the hill, the same dog, they're all over the place. So it's not like they've just gotten loose for 15 minutes. My little dog Stacy that I used to have, she would get loose from the bed and breakfast and she'd be all over town. And I would post a picture as soon as I noticed, within 15 minutes. So when dogs are gone for days, how did you not notice your dog was missing? Because when you go to feed your dog or pet your dog, which I'm assuming you pay attention to them every day, that you would interact with your dog, how did you not know for days that the dog was missing? At that point, it's that individual is putting the burden on the community, on the other people. And that's when I think we need to find some way of enforcing the bylaws.
That's what I had said at the start though, is like, are they just strays then that are being taken care of? Like after how many days do you either cut that off and just say, okay, obviously nobody owns this dog or has abandoned it. And, when do you decide that that's, you need to find a different solution? It has to be you can't just keep it for a month or, carry on. Also, if somebody's dog is impounded, why do we have to make them pay their fine before they get the dog? Like once they notice it's been in there for 3 days, say, the cost is, $150. Why can't they just come and take their dog and sign something agreeing that they owe the village that money, that will be, they will pay that.
So they don't have to pay up
that
front.
money. Yeah, like they can take their dog, but they have to sign something saying that they do
Have X amount of days to
Yeah.
pay.
Yeah,
So who do they normally pay? The village or the one who was the
The
contract?
village.
The village?
Fines.
Okay, so as a council, when you signed on, right, you said that you'd watch the village funds, right? And we wouldn't spend it like, nonchalantly. So how many days, months, years should we house a dog before we do something about it.
Wow. 3-day stops.
3 days, right? That's sort of what it says in,
Yeah.
in the bylaw. It says after 3 days, it's our dog and we will decide what happens to it. Right?
Yeah.
So we have to do that so that the cost to the community is being monitored, right? So that's something that we have to write in here, that after 3 days, we will do something, right? And we won't leave it up to anybody in the office to decide. It'll be in the bylaw, right? So that's one of the things that, like, because we just lowered our budget, right? For donations to, you know, community fundraising and all that to $15,000. We lowered it. But yet in, you know, last year, just with this, the SPCA, like we're sitting around $80,000. And that coming in, I would pay for all the shots, right? Whether you make 50,000, but if you're having an operation, then maybe they should pay, right? But the shots, we want to keep out the rabies and the parvo and those sort of things, right?
Oh, you want the village to cover that cost?
Yeah, cover those costs, because it's only 100 and some.
The shots through the SPCA was $35. At a recent clinic, it was $240.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it cost me $600 for my 2
Yeah.
dogs.
So
what I had mentioned before is, I think that when somebody gets a new dog and they come in to register their dog, I would like to see us saying, if they're not fixed, then it's $250 to register your dog, and we will hold that $250 so that when the vet comes, that will be to get your dog fixed. That way, they're getting the free registration for that year, but then it ensures that they pay the money up front. So if you're going to get a dog, and I think we should have fines that if you don't register your dog, because it's free for the first month. If you don't register your dog and your dog is caught loose, then you get a fine because they were loose. You get a fine because they weren't registered. And if we educate people and say, look, it's free right now. You do not want to be in a situation where your dog is loose. So come in, it's free. We can send it out by mail. You know, we can do it however. There's only so many households here. There are ways we could be doing this so much.
Yeah.
And Fort Simpson produces so many puppies that we are dumping on all these other organizations, and people get them. Anyway, I'm going to be careful of how I say it, but there are people that are putting out so many dogs and the village is supporting this problem and creating more dogs, but we're not doing stuff to stop the problem. If we do that, if we can do everything in our power to help people be responsible and stop the dog problem, stop all the puppies, we're going to get it back under control like it was before.
The village, they used to contribute 50% of the cost if you have to neuter your pets. Because I had 4 before, and then I had them neutered. It cost me like $1,000 for the 4, right? The other thing with SPCA, they charge cheaper compared to the other vet that comes here with the big rig, right? That's when it's expensive. Because at the time when people were booking, they're fully booked, and then they figure out how expensive it was, then they didn't attend. So that's why more people, is not willing to pay that much money. That's the other thing with SPCA, it's subsidized. I'm not sure if the other vet is subsidized, but I heard it's subsidized, but still expensive. So it's an affordability as well.
Yeah, I just want to be careful too when we talk about the other vet. That's a for-profit vet.
Yeah.
And he can make those prices stay where he is, but he came here, so that's why it ended up costing us, because he had to charge regular prices. The village may have I don't know how the arrangement worked, because
The village kind of contracted them to come. Is that how it worked before? Because it's been a while.
We'd have to, Mitch would know more, but
Yeah.
this one was done through a different vet. And I know people were saying, oh, he's just ripping us off. And it's not that. It's just That's the cost.
Yeah.
As a responsible dog owner, if
That's
go
what
and
you would
get a
pay.
dog,
Yeah,
you should be prepared to pay those kinds of prices if you have to go to the vet.
Yeah.
And you live in a remote community, so you might even have to pay flights or
Yeah.
drive there and then the fee.
Yeah.
But we definitely,
yeah, because that's what I heard. That's the reason why, a lot of people backed out last minute when they realized how expensive it was compared to when SPCA was
this
here.
one was $240 for shots.
Yeah.
With the SPCA, it was $250 for a spare neuter, shots, deworming,
Almost everything.
vaccinations, and
Right.
nail cutting. So
But they
people
don't
get
charge
used
for
to
the
that.
transport because they charge, the other vet charge for extra dollars for their own transport per dog.
Yeah.
The other one, they don't.
Even if we came up with an agreement where we get one visit from the SPCA a year and one from the other vet, then the people who can afford it, if they want to go, they can.
Yeah.
We should be looking at options because some people just didn't want to pay those prices and they just didn't do it.
Yeah.
And so we still have the problem where people are not.
What's the vet's name and where are they from?
That was from High Level, Dr. Stickney.
Sydney. He was my vet for a very long
Me
time.
too.
There's a lot of people that drive out of town to
Go see him.
I know.
Yeah, and that's fine, right? You can take your dog to wherever you want. But if the village is paying, we should be looking for the best bang for our buck, right? You mentioned, not the SPCA, but the other one, the dog.
That's Without Borders.
Yeah, Vets Without Borders, right? They were in Wrigley and Hannibute and I believe Leard at the same time, the truck was in town here.
Are they free?
I never talked to the communities. I just knew they were there.
So they do free in some of the other communities. And Vets Without Borders, I've said this before, is like Doctors Without Borders.
Yeah.
They go to third world countries and we are not a third world country. We do not need it free here. They should be paying, if you have a pet, you need to be responsible. In my opinion, I truly believe this. We should not be doing it free just because people want it free. That's not the way the world works. And $250 to get the full package deal is an incredible deal. We've had residents here that were so thankful. I know there's a few people that gave them a tip. They gave them extra money. And there were some people that couldn't afford it. And the SPC said, well, how about you brush these dogs that are waiting? And they worked out deals with them. I mean, I still like the idea of supporting the other vet that comes here. I know he sends medications to people and there's people that can't afford it and will pay so that when he comes here, he's not just sitting there. But if we can have an option that at least once a year will help.
I think also people are paying something, then, and they realize the cost of having the pet.
Yeah.
Some people think, maybe I shouldn't have a pet. This costs way too much, and
And I think,
So, go ahead.
I just want to, because I had my hand up before before Troy was gonna talk, and then it's almost a similar thing, but I want to make sure, because I think that's a big one, is when someone gives up their dog, they are fined if they get another one. Like, I don't think they should have another dog if you're giving up your dog.
Well, yeah, if you're turning your dog into,
Yes, and that just happened, and now the new one is running amok. So and I know they'll say that wasn't their dog, but it was. So I literally, I don't think, I think we need to be fining people who go and get another dog after they've just given up a dog.
Yeah, and I think having a time limit, because people's situation changes, and maybe they were in this situation and we want to help out if they've lost their job or if there's something, if there's a reason it happened. We don't want to say, okay, now you have to pay $5,000. But if they get a puppy, it's just getting old. Yeah, it's really bad. I don't want it. Well, then, who's going to pay for it then? You don't want it anymore. So who should pay for this dog?
I think a $5,000 fine in this community is outrageous. And nobody
Nobody will pay that.
Nobody should be put in that position that you owe us $5,000, right? If you were to take that to a court of law for damaging something that was worth $5,000, the judge would not say that you have to pay $5,000 to, right? The restitution's just not there, right? We got to make reasonable fines and stuff. $5,000?
And that's why if we educate people and tell them this is what we expect.
No, I just want to say too, like the issue with loose dogs in the communities, like we have an abundance of wolves around the community, you know, and it's just going to create issues. You know, like we don't need wolves encroaching on this community, feeding on people's lack of responsibility. You know, we just don't need that. You know, wolves are dangerous enough as is, and
So the wolf and the fox problem. I see foxes run by here. As soon as it's dark,
foxes all the time.
right? Do we really need foxes in town? No, right? I did talk to the SAO a little while ago, and I said we should have a talk with ECC down, right? And start removing them, right? Relocate them. We should actually.
Well, so that issue has come before the LKFN council, and we were like, well, what's ECC doing? Like,
So
you know, it's unfortunate that we're like hunters like myself are able to discharge firearms in the community. It's a traditional right.
So in a place like Liard, and I asked the ECC rep there, what happens with the wolves and the foxes, and he says, we get them before they get to town, right? If they're on the outskirts, we just dispose of them, right? And that should be our, basically the same rules here.
You know, the loose dogs in the community is just food for the wild animals.
Yeah.
And puts more people at risk.
And again, education, because like the foxes over at the warming shelter are like dogs. They literally play, they sit, they're fed. And I think like they need to just like people need to stop feeding the fox. Like it's insane. Like they're like pets now.
I had one following me around on Main Street because it's so used to being
People.
and I was like, well, it's illegal to feed wildlife. It's illegal to feed wildlife in this territory.
Yeah, it is. So should we ask ECC to?
Start enforcing the laws.
Yeah.
Well,
Is that a bylaw with some?
They don't have a law, right, that says there's none in town. We tell them that we don't want them in town, right? So should we send them a letter and, you know?
ECC, you mean?
Yeah, ECC. Right, that's what we should do.
I think they have been trying to trap them and send them out, but I think they did with the warming shelter fox, and then
I just seen that
they're
one.
back. They're back. So
I
I'm
seen
like,
one
it's
this
like they
morning
know.
or yesterday morning.
There was one evening too, I think it was before the holidays. ECC had a vehicle sitting overlooking the river there because there's wolf sightings on the river, right? I mean, it helps, but I mean, a little more active enforcement than that. You know, like, take the sled race, take the cruise.
So what do they do if they see them? They just fire a shot or to scare them away?
I know were doing some patrols early in the morning, like before 8, like a month ago.
But it's not just this community, it's a number of communities across the state that are being encroached upon by wildlife, and it's largely because Denny cannot make a living trapping anymore, and then something needs to change. Like that should change. Like, that's a lifestyle that is in the past. It's in the past, but I mean, if it's unattainable, then why bother doing it? So it's unfortunate. There's not a whole lot of people out on the land harvesting these days.
I think they do have the incentive out right now for,
I think there's this.
it's not as big as it was.
I believe there's an incentive for wolves.
Yeah.
Box.
There was,
And,
oh,
and I, you know, like if I come across them on the highway, I'm not gonna say no, right? I'm not gonna say no, just because there's so many of them out there now. But again, like, you know, with the roving dogs in the community, it's just an opportunity for wildlife to get their food at ease. I haven't encountered wolves roving around neighborhoods once before, and it was very far from me. I thought it was a German Shepherd.
yeah.
So what are we supposed to do with this? Incorporate these suggestions in here?
With the dog bylaw,
Yeah.
we'll have the committee come up with, right? Like, we're gonna redo some of the dog bylaw.
Yeah, so
Yes.
the committee will kind of look into this one and try to insert them in here. Formulate a sentence or such, or however you want to do it. Is that what you're saying?
For today?
No, later on.
Yeah, later on.
Pass a motion?
Yeah. We'll get a committee meeting set up, not from this meeting, but from the next one. And,
Is it the committee who was gonna discuss this or?
yes,
This COW?
I would say committee,
Okay,
right?
Should go to committee.
which committee would that be?
Let's
Safety?
say,
There's the, which one is it?
Right.
It's the
Okay.
bylaws and the word is in here.
yeah.
It'd be community.
Actually,
I just don't remember the exact word.
yeah, we should get the list of who's on what committee.
Yeah.
I have to go back to that email from Daryl.
Yeah,
Summary.
if we get that printed out, then.
Yes.
Maybe we should put it here somewhere so we know.
Print a bunch, laminate them.
Oh, you did?
Give me 1 second.
It's
No, I'm just talking in there.
To get rid of any of the ones that are pointless, like if we're not going to follow through and what.
Yes, why not have, like that, yes.
It's silly to have us just get rid of those
Set
ones.
up.
Make them change, but instead of just adding a couple things, like if we just review the whole thing, get rid of anything that doesn't make sense. Add in something that's a little
You're saying
more,
the new one, eh?
more strict, things that will help people.
Yeah.
And we can't direct bylaw what to do, but I think based on our recommendations, you know, maybe the SAO can sort of say, we'd like you to try.
Yes.
Going door to door to register. people.
Is there-
This is,
I know right now there is, like, there was a Facebook.
Yeah.
And then they said, you don't even have to come in if
If-
they've been
if
registered
already.
before.
Yeah.
So they're trying to make it easier, which is good.
Yeah.
But some people are like, oh, I've never bothered. And some people said that you can only have 2 indoor dogs and 1 outdoor dog, and they've got more than 3 dogs, and they're like, I don't want to tell them because they might make me give one up. And, you know, so there's concerns, but I think we're not asking people to give up if they're responsible dog owners and they've got 5 dogs, well, you know, there's no issue. But if it becomes an issue, then
Uh-huh. Okay.
okay, we don't need an in-camera.
Do we have an in-camera?
What's that? No. There's-
Fine.
So revisit, we want more community input basically on the
Stop sign.
bylaws, and then we'll have, make a recommendation to council, I guess, or we can go to committee meetings as well, right? So, administration, right, for,
Administration. Yeah.
schedule a committee.
Okay, we can have motion to adjourn.
Can I go to the camera?
Do we still have to do in camera?
If there's no items. for-
Yeah, we didn't really need an in camera because we didn't discuss contracts.
So we're adjourning.
Okay. Councilor resolution, I need somebody to move. Motion to adjourn at 9:17. Somebody second, Councilor Fraser.
Past 9.
All in favor?